Man, what is up and welcome to the latest edition of the Bruin Bible. A very, very frustrating Saturday, a very, very confusing Saturday, and unfortunately a very, very familiar feeling on this Saturday as UCLA kept it close in the first half. We're down 40 to 38, got absolutely dog walked in the second half as the final score was 86 to 56. We were outscored 46 to 18 in the second half at the Chrysler Center in Michigan. It's frustrating, man. There's a lot of things going on right now with UCLA basketball. We're going to dive all the way into it. Coming off of 2 wins, you got to win against Rutgers. You got to win against Washington. Momentum's kind of building back. But for a team that we thought, when we really broke it down, AP preseason poll was the number 12 team in the country. Number 12 team in the country. It's one of these things where this team is drastically underperforming. And if you go back and look at the past few seasons, I know Cronin had his way when he first started. It was making the Final Four in 2021 and a couple of Sweet 16 appearances outside that. The last 3 seasons, missed the tournament entirely in 2023, 2024. Second round knockout last year. We spent $3 million to go get Donovan Dent, who, by the way, had some moments today, but, I think we got to start talking about this Donovan Dent experiment now as just a flat-out disappointment. It's been crazy to say that a $3 million player, we thought he was going to fix a lot of our problems, did not do that. So, guys, it has just been rough waters for UCLA, for a team that we really expected to be good. And, let's talk all about it, man. So the first half, we're kind of battling back and forth. Trent Perry. By the way, we hope Trent Perry is healthy. He buckled his knee. We didn't see a lot of him in that second half of the game today. So thoughts and prayers up to our guy, Trent Perry. That is probably the best consistent offensive player we had. He started off, doing what he normally does, just making tough shots look easy for UCLA basketball. And then the game kind of progresses. We get closer and closer to halftime. UCLA closes on a 7-0 run. It was a thing of beauty. You have Donovan Dent going coast to coast on the floor, making big time play as he kind of lays it in right before the clock expires, to end the first half. So it's just a really tough scenario in that front where you think Dent is going to be, leading the team out. We got some momentum going in the second half. This is for all the marbles. We're playing against a Michigan team that's the number 2 team in the country. And Michigan is a very, very good basketball team. But it goes to show, like, when we got back in that second half, you would think momentum carried forward. I just want to know what Cronin and the team are just kind of, talking about the players, diagramming offensive plays. 18 points and a half is unacceptable in any form of college basketball. And that's what this team laid out there. My guy, Tyler Bilodeau, I wanted to be like, why isn't he getting it going? He had a great stretch in the second half that kind of kept us the first half that kind of kept us in the game a little bit there. But, 4-12 from the field, didn't really deliver. Bilodeau is one of those guys that I feel if he's not on his A game, this team is just flat out miserable. Bilodeau's kind of been that stalwart, the guy you can rely on, can make plays for UCLA basketball. But if he's not getting buckets, it just feels like the offense collapses. And, between Bilodeau, I know a lot of people want to talk about Eric Daly. I mean, I had such high hopes for Eric Daly. And, I wanted to see him elevate his game. I thought he had a chance to be an all Big Ten selection this year as a two-way player. Maybe like 17 points a game, something in that range. He was really good last year. He was the second lead scorer on UCLA. He's clearly regressed. So Eric Daly Jr. has regressed. Donovan Dent's not the $3 million player you think he is. You got Tyler Bilodeau having an off game because nobody else can step up. I think Sky Clark is a phenomenal shooter, but there was a play in the second half where he took the ball off the dribble and went to the rim and drew a foul to go to the free throw line. And it makes you wonder, why doesn't he do that more? I know the shooting has been good, and he is a very good shooter, and we'll give him his attempts from long distance. No problems asked. But as good of a ball handler as Sky Clark is, you have to give me something going to the basket. You have to give me some plays. You have to get some to the line. That's how you slow down a run like Michigan was having today when they went just absolutely nuclear in the second half behind, Lendeborg and Johnson and Burnett. And I mean, don't even get me started on Ade Mara, man. The Ade Mara for Xavier Booker swap is one of the worst in recent memories. If you want to talk about coaching, look at what Ade Mara is doing at Michigan now, guys. Look at what he's doing. He's top 3 in the country in blocks. He had a couple really good rejections within the ball game himself today. Nearly had a double-double, 9 points, 8 rebounds. He had the ridiculous reverse alley-oop in game today. Ade Mara is one of those guys where you just look at him and you say Cronin kind of failed him. And you look at what he's doing with Dusty May now at Michigan, absolutely flourishing, a huge part of a team that's has a chance to win a national title. And it's unfortunate because it should be that way for him in a UCLA Bruins uniform if you're really breaking it down. So just tough all around. I think the comparison I've made with Cronin, and I want to hear if you guys agree with this. I feel like he's the James Franklin right now of college basketball, where he wins the games he should, but any big game opponent, anything like that, he kind of just crumbles, kind of, blows it a little bit in the waning seconds, waning minutes of a ball game, where you feel like this team is battling. They're playing hard for, 35 to 40 minutes. It was a huge, huge thing, man. So really, really tough to see Cronin kind of do that. As I just got a text message from Jamal, I'm hoping he could jump on here very soon. But yeah, it's just a bummer, man, across the board. I want to hear from the fans, man. I want to hear from the fans. Generous comparison of James Franklin to Mick Cronin. Hey, man, I mean, Mick at least got to a Final Four. I think James Franklin got to a Final Four 2 years ago with Penn State. Who would be your football crossover comparison to a guy like Mick? And you look at the upcoming schedule we got, guys. Like, this is the meat of the schedule. You're kind of hoping UCLA to show some fight because we got at Michigan State, number 10 team in the country, coming up in a few days. And then next Saturday, we're hosting the number 8 Illinois Fighting Illini. Like, this is as tough as it gets. We'll be lucky to win one of these games at the rate they played like today. Just incredibly, incredibly tough stuff. So, yeah, it is not looking great for our UCLA Bruins in every facet right now, but I think this is a tournament team. I think the ceiling on this team might be the second round, which sucks because I initially had us as like an Elite 8 Final Four team, and then once you make it that far, anything can happen. It's just not great, man. And I got to give, you got to tip your cap to what Michigan's built already with Dusty May. Michigan's one of those schools where they just have a ton of great resources. And Lindeborg, he was the best player on the floor today. Best player on the floor today. He looks like a future pro. I'm really excited what he can potentially bring to the table at the next level. But yeah, the Mara thing, dude. Eddie, you're nailing it, dude. The Mara thing is huge. Ade Mara looked so comfortable on the basketball floor tonight, this morning, was just all over the floor, two-way player, affecting the game at will, rejecting shots. That behind-the-back assist he made, man. That behind-the-back assist he made was one of the best things you'll see all season. Just flat-out beautiful stuff from that when our guy Ade Mara was making plays out there. So it sucks he's in a Michigan uniform now. It really, really does. And it's a heartbreaking scenario. Any other topics you guys want to talk? We talked about Daly. We talked about Sky Clark, how I think he needs to go to the basket. I don't know what's happened with Eric Daly's offensive game this year. If Bildo has a stinker, his team just can't get off the ground. Dent, while showing some flashes, is just not worth the $3 million you allocated to him to try to make this program better. He's just not the guy, the All-American we thought he was going to be. We don't have a bench right now, really, if you look at what Jamerson and Brown and just the lack of production there. It's really tough. And I don't know if there's a quick fix for this UCLA basketball team. They don't have an identity. What is their identity? We were trying to push the three-point shot. They didn't really shoot the ball great from long distance today. 6 of 19 from downtown. So I don't know what the identity is of this team moving forward, but it's going to be a long one. I'm glad you guys tapped in. If we have any questions, man, please put them in the chat. It's always fun hanging out with you guys. But we had to give you the instant recap to the UCLA Michigan game. And I got my guy, Anthony Ortiz. Starts with high school recruiting. I agree, man. There's a lot of talent in Southern California that's been going elsewhere. Going to USC. Like, when has that happened in the history of UCLA basketball? And let me see what I got here. Ortiz is saying also fire Cronin. How many people are in favor of firing Cronin? And the unfortunate thing is we had this extension kind of done right under our noses for another 5 years, which I thought, given the last 2 seasons that were quite rocky, I thought that was a very risky extension, and we're kind of seeing the fruits of our labor on that. Should we fire Cronin? I want to hear it in the chat. Should we fire Cronin? You know, I think he's going to do just good enough this year to kind of keep his job, but next year's the year. The buyout significantly drops. It's going to be one of those things where if he can't get this team back to UCLA basketball and how we know it as fans, where, you know, early 2000s we're competing for national championships, we're in Final Fours. Cronin needs a serious attitude adjustment. I agree. I'd be ready to move on at this point. Bennett, I agree. And it's the extension that's killing you. You didn't have to do this extension. You did not have to do this extension. Recruiting is such a killer, man. You look at like the Elijah Arenases, you know. And I know people are going to take this any way they want to, but anytime there was an NBA son, you know, like a LeBron James kid, UCLA would be the spot they would go to. Why are they going to the other school across town? We are a basketball blue blood school. Elijah Arenas, Trevor Ariza's son, guys, like UCLA lineage. He was at the game against Indiana. His son's going to Oregon. How do we let that happen as a kid that's in LA? He's a 5-star recruit. Dad is a Bruin. And you can't even get him to come to UCLA? Like, I'll never understand that. You know, for a school that has everything going for it in UCLA. And luckily, guys, we're going to see it on the football field. I think that's going to be really, really fun to watch with spring football coming up. I was at the Super Bowl, you know, a couple weeks back, and then Jamal was on business this week out in D.C. And we got Christian Horry. I know we got Christian Horry. He's not getting any minutes, but that's the type of guys we got at UCLA. TL, I agree. It's Mick Cronin. Slowly becoming the basketball version Chip Kelly at this point with recruiting. That's a really solid comparison, actually. That was the main frustration with the fan base, was the lack of recruiting. And, you know, Cronin was trying to do essentially what Mick did Cronin was trying to do what Chip did really well. We'll give Chip credit. The transfer portal, like, we got Zach Charbonnet, Jake Bobo, Liatu Latu. He was trying to do that with Donovan Dent. And if that doesn't work, on top of not great recruiting, and Xavier Booker and these types of guys, where Booker, I would take Ade Mara at this stage 10 times out of 10. It's just unfortunate we let him go to Michigan. Not even close. Ade Mara is the anchor of a team that has a chance to win a national title. It's unbelievable that he's in a Michigan uniform. That was a great game. Hey, what other players you don't want over there? This guy sounds like a Michigan fan, so we're going to let that go. Our guy Broken Tubing. What's up, bro? But, yeah, recruiting is really the issue I have. And, I mean, it's just so easy. It's kind of like what Lincoln Riley's doing right now. Remember, the story with Lincoln Riley at USC was he just didn't care about the effort of recruiting. He wouldn't go out. Didn't even know many of the high school coaches in the area, which is like sacrilegious, because Southern California, from a football standpoint, from the sheer population numbers, we are oozing with talent in this sector of the country. And if you're not getting out and meeting coaches or making an effort, you're going to lose on a lot of top guys, man. Like, that's why Bryce Young and CJ Stroud went elsewhere. And, you know, both Southern California kids, they got out. They got out of LA. Playing style, attitude. He grinds players down. You think Dent's going to flourish in the NBA? I hope you're right, man. I root for Dent. I think he's so militaristic and, you know, very just old school that I think we need to change it, man. I got a good comment right here from King Tao. I will say this Cronin was not my first or second or 10th choice, but we would have never got to the Final Four without the way he coached. I agree, man. That year, 2021, was fantastic. And even the 2022, 2023 season, the year after the Final Four, great years. But you got to understand, man, that's 3 years ago now. It's been a long time. Like 5 years in the college landscape. Like, dude, we were in the Pac-12 when that happened. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, NIL wasn't even a thing. Like, the world has changed, and you have to either adapt or you have to fall back. And for me, I think Cronin is one of those guys. I've said this before on a podcast where Cronin to me is a really above average mid-major coach. Like, he's at Cincinnati. Like, he's a good coach for Cincinnati, but for UCLA standards, I don't know if he might be just like too blue collar. Like, you need to get stars. You need to get NBA talent. It's UCLA. This is what we know. This is what we've put out there to the league. That's what makes UCLA great, is we're not average. We're above average. We can recruit. We can get any guy. For the longest time, it felt like if someone was coming here that was great in Southern California, they were going to UCLA for basketball. It wasn't even a question. When's the last time you guys felt that way? Because for me, it's like probably like Lonzo Ball and TJ Leaf time. Like, that's really what it is. And that's way too long of a time. I got my guy Eddie West. We need to do the Chesney thing with our b-ball coach. Get someone young and energetic with a track record of winning. Yeah, man, look at what Michigan's doing with Dusty May. Like, what Dusty May has done for college basketball is very similar to what Bob Chesney has done for, college football. Dusty May and Chesney, both at mid-major schools, overachieved. Like, Dusty May took Florida Atlantic to a Final Four in 2023. Like, that may never happen again in our lifetimes, guys. James Madison going to the playoffs with Bob Chesney and, hanging in there, playing well. There's just a lot of good things between both of them. And I agree with that, Eddie. I think we got to find that next Dusty May, that next Bob Chesney on the basketball court. We got EVS. This roster just doesn't have the talent to compete at the highest level. I'm starting to agree, man. But I think it's more coaching. I think it's more mental, because this team was talented enough to be ranked in the top 12, in preseason rankings. Like, how do you fall this far? How is Donovan Dent not as confident as we thought he was? This team just doesn't have the confidence. And I think a large part of that is how Mick interacts with the team and is how hard he is on them. I think that's a part of it. Cronin reminds me of my grandpa, a veteran of the U.S. Marines. Yes, he's militaristic, man. And there are lots of great things about the military and, the mentality you get from that. But I am just telling you, in today's age of kids out there, we all talk about it as the old heads on the couch. Like, these kids are just not the same as the older generation, right? You have to be a softer. You got to be more loving. You got to love them up a little bit more. I mean, that is a style that's fading and few and far between in today's era. Like, the only guy I can see that gets away with it is Danny Hurley. And outside of Hurley, I don't see any other college basketball coaches screaming and doing the things that Cronin's doing right now. So it's a lot, guys. But any questions, keep putting them in. They don't have a player with above average athleticism. Yep, we don't have that star. Like, Amari Bailey was kind of flamed out, right? He's trying to go back and play college ball, which I think is insane. But he was a legitimate 5-star talent when UCLA acquired him. Zach LaVine, Jalen Clark, those type of guys. God, man, Jalen Clark he's one of my favorites in recent years. Just absolute lockdown defender. He may have been the perfect player for Cronin because he is just a defensive-minded coach. And, Jalen Clark was like defensive player of the year in the Pac-12, perimeter, would take out your guard. That injury, to me, may have cost UCLA a national championship back in 2023. And I talk about this all of the time. That 2023 team, to me, if Bona's healthy and Clark's healthy, I actually think that's better than the 2022 team. You know what I mean? So I just thought that team was so special. It was Hawkes' final year in a UCLA uniform. It's just man, we had everything going that year, but injuries just got us at the end. And I think if Bona, Clark, and maybe a little bit more magic come our way, that could have been the 12th banner, guys. That could have been the 12th natty. Would have loved to have seen it. Eddie Westside agrees. That's what's up, bro. I appreciate you, man. Man, any more questions, guys? We got some big games coming up. We'll probably do a similar one for the Michigan State game this week. We're going to do another one. I'm going to be in the house for the Illinois game. If anyone wants to pregame, if anyone wants to tailgate, if anyone wants to just meet up for a drink, before the game, maybe drinking away our sorrows, by the way this UCLA basketball season is going, hit me up. Let's do it. I'd love to see you guys. Bruin Nation is better when we are a united force and we are trying to uplift this community. But we got to be honest, too. We got to be honest. There's no half-assing this. This team, from where I thought they could be to where they are now, has been incredibly, incredibly disappointing, guys. And on that, I'm going to read our sleeper ad, guys. Make sure you guys know that we got team picks that just launched for sleeper. You can choose winners of each game by bringing up examples in your local market. For example, won't be able to use any football teams as well, but check out the LA Kings, man. LA Kings on the teams pick. You just pick, are they going to win? Are they going to lose in the ball game? You get ultimately paid out through the sleeper ad. So check them out. Sleeper, use code UCLA LAFB, and you guys are going to cash out there. And then also, guys, please like and subscribe. We are trying to do big, big things with this podcast. We're trying to do big, big things with this community. I know it's kind of a random one as it's middle of the day on Saturday. It's literally lunchtime. It just feels weird. Maybe that's why the team couldn't get off the floor in the second half. But guys, please like and subscribe. We love this community. We love this podcast. Please help us on out. Nothing but love, guys. Let's stay locked in. If we can beat Michigan State, my opinion will change. But until I see that, I'm still sticking to what we talked about today. All the best to the UCLA community. Nothing but love, guys. We'll be talking soon. Postgame, Michigan State.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.